The Badgers started out pretty strong, but in the second half couldn't quite hang on in Bloomington. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? I am Ryan Herrings, your host of Locked On Badgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. Today's episode, we are talking what went well, what went wrong, Indiana game reaction, your thoughts. Again, Mike is always starring those, so we get a really good from the you guys, what you're bringing to the show, your thoughts. We definitely want to always include those. Let's start big picture. We'll just kind of go down the road. Rajiv, big picture. Justin, we'll get to you. Then we'll do kind of players of the game, those kind of things. But big picture, Indiana, 31-7 loss.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to look at it a tale of two halves. I think the first half was absolutely incredible. Like, I just feel like the energy was there, an amazing performance in that first half. Like, to hold Indiana to 10-7 and threaten them, freak them out. They went in the locker room and obviously had a come to Jesus meeting back there. Like, I feel like we really played well. The defense in the first half showed out. The number of times we were getting defensive penetration. I think big picture, ultimately, we knew we were going to lose this game. We wanted to compete. And for a half, we did compete. And I give credit to Luke Fickell. I give credit to Mike Tressel. I give credit to Carter Smith. I think that overall we did okay. Certainly the second half was not anything that we wanted to see. That's where we had the turnovers. That's where we allowed Mendoza to just kind of go wild. The defense was tired. I think when I look at this holistically, I walk away thinking, you know what? Like, there is still something to build on here. We have 2 games left that are winnable. This was not a winnable game, and we've all known that. And now we have to go into the next 2 weeks and really fight, try to get that axe at the end. I'm not overly upset about this game because of how well we fought in the first half. And I just feel like this is undoubtedly one of the best teams in America. They've proven that. And we gave them our best shot in the first half. And I just feel like I'm okay with that. I know the second half was rough, but there are positives here. And I do think there's something that we can continue to build on. And I'm going to choose to see the positive side of it.
So biggest thing I'll say right off the bat, we held them to 20 points under their average at home this season, which is, I believe, 52 points coming into this game. We weren't able to hold it together in the second half. And it really comes down to, we weren't able to consistently move the ball on offense, which I think if you'd asked all 3 of us before the game, would we expect that to be a problem? I think we'd agree. Carter starting at quarterback, I think we viewed it as, you'd love to see them find a way to be able to consistently make plays, but I wouldn't expect it. I thought he played pretty darn well for a guy who's coming in minus the 1 pass that clearly he just bricked the coverage on it and threw the ball into a place where it just wasn't there.
I feel we were talking a little before the show, some of which, if there was ever like a behind the scenes part of Lockdown, it'd be kind of fun to see that
screaming.
I'm much more frustrated. Yeah, I'm much more frustrated than you guys
Locked
are.
On Badgers.
After dark with uncensored or something. I'm much more frustrated than you guys are. I thought the second half they kind of melted down, and this team has been playing better, but someone said in the comments, I completely agree, it reminded me of USC last year, where they kind of melted. You had 22 yards in the second half. It's not acceptable. I know Indiana's good, and I know it's a true freshman quarterback. But last week, the excuse was first really playing action for Carter Smith, and the weather's terrible. You did what you can do. You got to get more than 22 yards in the second half. This is a game that's a game. And there were moments where, dude, there's a 3rd and 9 where it's a 14-point game, and we ran a quarterback draw. I'm sorry. That's not being competitive. That's not – I'm fired up because it felt like, to everything Rajiv said, everything you said is dead spot on. That first half, we were flying around. It was a 3-point game. And then it felt like in the second half, we played like we just wanted to be close. I'm sorry. That's not what I want as a fan. It frustrates me. You can't – I know they're really good. 22 yards in the second half is not acceptable for a Big Ten team. It's not to me. And it frustrates
me. It's not. I
We're
agree
close.
with you. It's definitely not. I agree that the second half was rough to watch. By the way, I do want to just say, if people didn't watch the very end of the game, getting to Tuca, there was good news that came out that said he's moving all his extremities. That was, and by the way, that talk about the energy getting sucked out of the game. That was one of those moments where, I mean, when you see a guy laying on the field and getting on the board, and I mean, that's going to take everything down. So that does factor into a little bit of how we play the second half, but very, very happy to hear that he's moving all his extremities. That was a scary moment, but I agree with you, Ryan. Like the play calling definitely was not the greatest in the second half. But we also turned the ball over twice. Like that was a factor. Obviously, Carter made that bad throw out to the left. He didn't see the zone coverage. And then, of course, the fumble, like that also put us in a situation where the score was a lot worse than it had to be just because of those 2 turnovers. But I think the defense, I'm not going to rag on the defense too much in the second half because I feel like they were really, really tired. You're right, though. We needed to move the ball more. We needed to get a little more inventive. And that is on Grimes in the second half for sure.
Yeah, I look at this from the standpoint of, was this worse than I expected? And this is roughly what I expected this game to be. I didn't expect us to come out. I thought there was a chance they might come out and do some things early, which is pretty much what we saw. But I figured ultimately Indiana's a better team. They have a stud quarterback that he would figure us out eventually. And that's basically what happened in this game. They kind of played around with us a little bit to figure out what we were doing. And once they did that and they have the second half, they got far more consistent and they were just able to move the ball methodically against us. I don't really hold that against this team. I mean, we sacked them 5 times. We had 7 tackles for loss. Am I okay with it? No. Do I think it was an absolute, like, am I devastated by what happened in this game? I wouldn't say that. I would say, I hope my biggest thing coming into this game was I want Carter to get good reps. I don't want him to look completely overmatched. And I'm hopeful we get something that we can build off in this game to move forward against Illinois and against Minnesota, which is pretty much what I came out of this one looking at.
I'm not going to fault Carter Smith for 2 turnovers. He's a freshman quarterback playing on the road against.
I figured he'd throw 2 picks. It was only 1.
That doesn't stress me out. Indiana's a really good team. They're really well coached. They disguise coverages. I'm not stressed about that. I think if you're Carter Smith, and there's a lot of good in this game. Yeah, there are. And we're going to talk about some. We're going to do kind of a good and maybe something that bothered you or something you liked or something that frustrated you. But you've had a week, and Eric says limited playbook with a true freshman getting 5 days of ones in the practice. See, I love you. I love Doc. I'm not going to buy. I'm sorry. Like, you have to, as an offensive coordinator, be able to put something in to move the ball. And he's had an entire year on the team. I mean, how many times have analysts come on and said, by the time you're in November, you're not a freshman anymore? You have to be able to do more offensively. And I don't know what that is, but I'm not the OC. You can't score 7 points. Wisconsin's averaging 12.6 on the year. You have to be able to do more offensively than this. And players have to make plays too. Vinny Anthony, I thought, had a drop on a tough catch that could have been a big play. That's fair to point out. But the offense has been by far the biggest problem on this team. And I would have liked to have seen a little growth from an entire week of practice with the ones with Carter Smith. And I don't think we saw much growth.
I agree. I think the play calling could have been a bit more exotic. I'm not happy with the play calling in this game, but I also just am choosing to take a step back and look at this from like 10,000 feet and realize that in the end, the result is pretty much what all of us expected. Like, I was at 31-10. I feel like that's what we expected, but I agree. It was deflating to see us be so poor offensively in the second half. And I texted you guys during the game. I said in the Discord, I want to see a deep shot. I want to see what do you have to lose at this point? Just give the ball to Vinny and just let him go. Just put him on a go route and see what happens. Like, let the guys try to make a play. We could have done something a little bit more exotic to move the ball, for sure. There's no doubt in that at all.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, we've talked about it when it comes to Grimes. I'm completely indifferent with whether we keep him or not. Ultimately, I think this is the scheme I want, but regardless of which, this isn't good enough. Now, you have 2 games left this year because he's not going anywhere this season anymore. You've got to find something to hang your hat on, and I think you have 2 defenses that 7 points would be considered a big disappointment against, as Illinois is not incredible defensively, and neither is Minnesota. Mm-hmm. So you've got to prove that you're growing and that you're getting better with this quarterback. And I think that is a reasonable expectation. I think both of those games, that 20 points should be the marker that you're looking at, because I think that neither one of those offenses are really going to challenge you to make it feel like you shouldn't be able to find play. We can repeat what we did against Washington against both of those teams. We're capable of making them uncomfortable with our defense, which, by the way, in both those games will probably be the best unit on the field, because I legitimately think that this defense is an above average defense. If we had an offense capable of keeping them off the field for a while, they would probably be pretty darn good, like top 20-ish. with how they're playing at that second half. Those two freshman linebackers
Yeah.
are two of the best freshmen in the country.
I'm really interested to watch the All-22 on this game and do an analysis of it, just because I'm curious to see, like, this comment from Aiden, which I think was good. Are we sure that a lot of the play calling wasn't more options and Carter could have just made the wrong decision at some points? Listen, we don't know what that is. I would like to just see what options he had. There were times where he held the ball a little bit. He obviously made the decision to roll out of the pocket and throw short, which were good decisions, but also, like, what did he miss? Were there opportunities for him to throw the ball in situations that he could have? And he was a little bit too gun shy, which is, he's a true freshman quarterback playing his first start at the number 2 team in the country. Yeah. That's not an easy situation. But I do think there's we could look at potentially seeing that maybe Grimes did put him in situations where he could have thrown the ball and moved the ball for yards, but it wasn't there.
I love this comment from Mark, by the way. So much blatant holding that wasn't called. God.
Honestly, ridiculous.
Oh, there's probably some Indiana Hoosier fan watching right now, by the way, because I always watch post games from games that our team wins, and it's fun. And like you guys have an amazing team. Like, Fernando was incredible. My goodness, did that Indiana offensive line get away with a couple holds in very key moments, including one early in the game. Yeah, it's just so frustrating. We got to take a quick second here for our friends of the show. We're going to go back, the good, the bad, a player, the MVP of the game, and which player did we want to see more from today? That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. First, a quick second for our friends of the show over at DoorDash. DoorDash is our incredible partner to get some food, get it delivered. I used On Travel all week last week, and I DoorDashed some incredible food, pizza. I got some fettuccine Alfredo, which is, like, obviously I'm an Italian. I love Italian food, so I was killing it with DoorDash. And with DoorDash Streaks, you save more every time you order. Just like Mason Posa delivers every single game for the Badgers, DoorDash delivers every Saturday for you. You can save up that money by building those streaks, by getting that great food, by having it delivered. Stack it up all season long. You can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day. Only with DoorDash. Terms to apply. Promo period through 11/18. All right, guys, let's come back. Let's talk about some of the good, maybe some that frustrated us, player of the game. Let's start with the good, maybe the best unit, the best thing that stood up for you for this game. For me, it continues to be that front seven. I want to highlight Daryl Peterson. I mean, we talk a ton about Posa and Catalano. Ben Barton, we've talked about a lot. Dude, Daryl Peterson has done nothing but continue to develop. He's playing his best as he's been in the program his longest. He had, 2 sacks today? Was it 2 or 3 today?
2.5.
2.5. Dude, he looks great. And he's not a star, but what he is he's developed himself into a very good, solid upperclassman. He's disruptive. He plays hard. And credit to Tressel. Tressel and Little, they found a place to use him that fits his skill set better. So highlight Daryl Peterson in that front seven for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also on the front seven. I want to highlight Charles Perkins. He had 2 tackles for loss today. I think that that defensive line group, too. That defensive line group is quite deep, right? We talk about Barton, we talk about Suggs, we talk about Lane, we talk about Perkins, Peterson. Like, all these guys are getting penetration, and we have been begging for penetration last year. I mean, how many times did we say, could we get some penetration and disruptive plays from the defensive tackles? We're getting that. Fantastic job. I just want to also say, by the way, we might be seeing one of the biggest comebacks of all time. Texas A&M was down 30-3, and they're actually winning in the second half. It's unbelievable. Wow. But anyway, like, really good. But yeah, got to just talk about Posa too. 12 tackles, flies all around the field, huge sack against Mendoza. The guy plays with his hair on fire. I made a comment on a show that I did earlier in the week about, like, how this defense plays similar to what the old Badger defenses did, because they play with aggression. They play with violence. They look like they're the most confident unit on the field when they're playing. We could not say that the last couple of years. You can say it now. This defense deserves a lot of credit. Yes, second half wasn't quite there, but Charles Perkins is my side of guy that I just feel like he's not one of the starters, but he comes in there and he gives a lot of effort. 2 tackles for loss against that offensive line is noteworthy.
Yeah, I'm just going to come through and say the front seven in general held a top 10 rushing offense to 83 yards today. And they had, and this isn't a day with bad wind where you'd expect Indiana to be able to run or to focus on running the football more. Like I said, 5 sacks, 7 tackles for loss in this game, consistently moving up that chart. That was an area that we said they had to improve this year, and they have. And it's, if you look at it, the biggest difference with this defense from last year to this year is, number one, stopping the run better. but they also are capable of forcing negative plays in big moments like third down and long, where it's a pass play and they can just unleash guys. And they have been far better than that, especially in the second half of the season, where it seems like they finally are getting their legs under them. Over the last 3 games, depending on how you want to look at it, it's quibble about what they had last game. In terms of sacks, it's either 4 or 5. I don't know which it is. But they either had 13 sacks or 14 sacks in the last 2 games, or last 3 games, which it's been a minute since we've had that type of disruption on defense. And it's nice to know that in a situation, especially coming up with Illinois and Minnesota, we can kind of unleash guys on them a little bit, and they're not Indiana. Indiana probably has a top 5 offensive line in the country. They can come and make some plays against those 2 teams, potentially to the point of just flat out dominating those 2 teams.
Yeah, I think that's well said. By the way, the short yardage defense, and as Mr. Lang chimes in there, says keep grinding. I was just going to say the short yardage defense, the game against Oregon started with a 4th and 1 stop. Washington started with a 4th and short stop. Multiple times in this game, Indiana 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1, Wisconsin was able to get a stop. That short yardage defense highlighted by that front 7 has made it difficult for opposing offenses to convert those. Justin, let's start with you on this one. We'll just reverse it back in order. Either the player or unit that you needed to see more from today that's frustrating to you?
Yeah, I think realistically, when it comes down to it, we saw Vinny with a really big drop that probably gives Wisconsin the lead. Great blocks set up by the other receivers on that one. And it looked like we caught Indiana on a blitz. So I don't think there was anybody there if Vinny caught that ball. He's probably got a touchdown. But other than that, I would say I thought the offensive line was okay today, but we could have used a little bit more from them in a game where Carter, like one of the low-key things that we've seen in the second half of the season, pass blocking has been kind of a problem. They have not been great in keeping people off the quarterback.
Yeah, so for me, I think that, like, first of all, I would just say offensive coordinator. That's something that I think we can all agree. The second half was really not there. I agree offensive line. I think there were times where, yes, the play calling was kind of putting them in bad situations, but there were some free runs from the Indiana defensive line.
The fumble from Carter. There was that guy was unblocked.
It just didn't work offensively. In most of that second half, I just think the line was not there. I do want to quickly give a shout out. I know some people probably are going to say the secondary was really poor, and I'm not saying that the secondary was great, but I will say that, like, some of those sacks were coverage sacks, and I think that we're not going to talk a lot about the secondary because we talked about the front 7, but I think the secondary deserves a little credit here too, because that offense overall is very difficult to stop. So I just want to, I didn't mention them in the last segment. I do want to say that I think that the secondary probably played admirably. Again, you see more on the all 22, but I think that is something to point out.
Deone Hill made some great plays.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, he had a couple nice hits for sure. He's a physical dude. Eric Matheson says the issue is the pass defense. That's actually where I was going, Rajiv. It's interesting, and I definitely get your point. There were a couple plays Mendoza had to hold the ball a little longer than he wanted to, but he was 22 of 24.
Yep.
So there's a point where I'll tell you the other one too. 2 of their biggest plays, and I put this in the Discord in the first half, wasn't Indiana scheming up anything. It was just their guy running a 9 route and just ran right by either Austin Brown or Deone Hill. There was no double move. There was no play action. I mean, he just ran right by our guys. Deone Hill missed. We talked about the physicality. He came uphill, had a couple really nice tackles. And then the very next play on 3rd and 8 on that first drive in the second half, when this was still a 10-7 game, his guy runs right by him. He misses the jam, and it's an easy pitch and catch. So I actually thought the secondary early in the game playing soft because obviously it's Mendoza, but because of that, he got in a rhythm. And then in the second half, we gave him some big plays. To me, the secondary wasn't great at all. And Austin Brown, again, a guy with a lot of physical tools, but he seems to miss more tackles and more big plays than he makes at times. And it can be a little frustrating. I
hear you on that. And I think it's very fair to point out that they got burned a little bit. I just think that credit is due to them for some of those sacks as well, which is fair. I don't think Deone Hill should have been playing press coverage on that play, that 3rd and 8 play. Like that was, I think he like 3rd and 8, like give a little cushion there. You don't need to give cushion all the time, but 3rd and 8's a play that you can give that. But yeah, look, and I agree. I think that Matt Young had a couple good plays, but also missed a big tackle, that sprung Nowakowski for his big yardage. And of course we did give up, but like they also have really, really talented guys on that team as well. And this is probably, outside of Ohio State, this is probably the most talented group of offensive players in the country. And that has to be said too. So I I don't want to just go hard in on the secondary because I think that for the most part, they played okay. We did hold them, as Justin pointed out, well under their average. And I think that is something to be said for that. They're a way better team than we are. There's no doubt about that. So could it have been better? Absolutely. But I think when you look at where the deficiencies were on this team, you got to really look at the offensive side of the ball. And for me, that starts with the line. And as Justin pointed out, the wide receivers.
This team also played hard. Like, let's again point out the fact that this is definitely not a team that at this point in the year was going into Bloomington and rolling over. Like that first half, they hit him in the mouth a couple times. I don't want to buy, by the way, I'm not buying it all. There was a little bit of noise. I think even the broadcasting team said it. Maybe Indiana's not taking this really seriously. Cignetti takes everybody seriously.
That's nonsense.
Cignetti plays.
Defense is legitimately good.
No, like this was in no sense like them looking past Indiana. This was homecoming for them. This was a big moment for them. And Wisconsin, that first half came and punched them in the mouth. That wasn't anything other than Wisconsin punching in the mouth. But offensively, when you can't do anything, eventually your defense just wears down, and you can't win a game against a good team if you can't throw the ball down the field. And
that's what makes Cignetti. That's what makes Cignetti such a good coach. He doesn't take teams lightly. That's why they have the record that they do. He is a dog of a coach. And I mean, he lit them up in that halftime speech. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in that for that speech.
Well, and he plays aggressive. Like, this is not a coach that just will go through a ho-hum game. He looks to run up the score on teams. We're going to run our offense. It's up to them to stop us. And I'm fine with that, given the fact that I think he's totally willing to accept it if another team does it to him. But that's kind of how I look at this. Wisconsin's defense played really well in the first half and in parts of the second half, but that is absolutely nonsense in terms of they took us lightly. It took them a bit to kind of assess how they wanted to attack us, and then they figured things out. That's a really good team, and they're gonna eventually get you. They're too good for us to just be able to expect to let the defense just carry us in a game like this.
Good comment here from Kevin Lewis. It's almost as if we've been super injured playing the second team, ranked team in the country. The Badgers played as well as they could. They gave a lot of effort. I don't know if they played as well as they could, but I definitely agree with everything else you put there. Slim says salty herrings is refreshing.
It is rare, by the way.
You don't see him very often.
It is rare, by the way, to see Brian more. It would have been great.
I'm the angry one normally.
Typically. So me and Justin, before the show started, were trying to calm him down because he was upset. I'm like, we're okay. We're okay.
Well, yeah. Can I tell you?
It's good to have the different perspectives. It's always good to have the different perspective.
Can I tell you what it is, though? It's almost like if this team has given you renewed hope, and with renewed hope comes a little bit more of renewed expectations. We've been playing better. And I was into it, as all fans are. So that second half, I wanted more. And that's kind of what some of this is. We're going to take a quick second here. Your comments coming up next, plus more as we wrap up this show. Badgers definitely played hard, but do end up losing 31-7 against a really good team in Bloomington. Today's episode brought to you by our amazing friends over at FanDuel. Right now, we all know the NBA's back. Devin Booker's absolutely cooking it, by the way. Not sure if anybody's paying attention outside of me. I picked up a really nice Devin Booker card the other day. There's no better place to get in on all that action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game, you can catch a live in-game bets if your team is making a hot push. Rajiv, I know you're in on all the different types of action on FanDuel. What do you love most about FanDuel?
Well, my favorite thing about FanDuel is all the different things you can do. And I'm running a lot of parlays today, which I love doing that. The in-game betting is critical. You can, if you don't like the line, you can buy it one way or the other. You can tease the lines to make sure you can be where you want to be to get that bet one. And
right now, great offer. FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet hits. That's $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet hits. Over at FanDuel, the official sports book of the NBA. All right, let's grab some of these comments in here as well. We always want to get your thoughts in here. Again, we'll kind of go round table on this so we can get as much of them as possible. Justin, let's start with you. Ben says, this team has the worst luck with injuries. I want to rephrase this question a little bit because this came from the Discord. Is that on the strength and conditioning department? Is that on the team? Is that just tremendously bad luck?
I think it's this point you need to realistically evaluate whether it's strength and conditioning. I also think that low-key we have not seen this team be as physically dominant. It's obviously better this year than it's been in the past, but the last 3 seasons, this is the first season I've looked at it and it's like, okay, this team actually physically can hold up to an extent, and maybe they're not. Maybe their injuries are coming because they're not physically able to stand up to it. But honestly, yes, it's to some degree is probably luck. I look at this mostly as being you need to really evaluate strength conditioning and see if there's something that is affecting this because we have way too many guys that are coming up with injuries.
Rajiv, Washington downstream says, like I said, Washington was a fluke. Really disappointed with Smith's running ability. He's quite slow. I think Simmons gives us the best chance to win.
Yeah, no, I totally disagree with this. Downstream always makes good comments, by the way. Look, the weather was an issue, fine, in against Washington, but the weather against Washington did not cause their offensive line to get overrun by our defensive line. That was nothing weather related. So that was just a legitimate win for us. And offensively, yeah, it's obviously bad. And is Hunter Simmons a better thrower of the football? Absolutely. But we have 3 wins. We're not going to a bowl. Let's get Carter some valuable reps where he can keep his red shirt year, and let's see what happens. Like, he is a weapon with his legs, and I think some decisions today were poor. Like, he could have kept it on one, he could have passed it off on another. But I want him in there, and I at this point, like, it's Carter's show.
I want to add on that Carter's not slow.
So he can't get through questions if you add on to everything.
He always wants to.
That's the first one.
We're on 2. We got 2 down. There's 80 starred questions. Go ahead, though. Go ahead.
I was gonna say he's not slow. He is patient. He definitely like sits behind his blockers and lets them kind of push the way, which I guess you can view as either a plus or a minus.
Z Badger says, proud of the guys. You can't win until you get the pass game going. Disappointed we didn't take any shots with our receivers. I agree. Again, this is just, to me, this ties in a little bit again with the frustration with Jeff Grimes. I know it's a limited play deck. I'm not trying to crush him for not engineering 25 points against Indiana with the litany of injuries that he has. That would be completely unfair. But dude, what's the deepest pass play we attempted today? I mean, honestly, I don't actually know.
It was the Mason
was like 25 or something like that.
A 4th and 1 on a play action, right? Like, that's not even to a receiver.
Beautifully thrown ball.
It was beautifully thrown, and that was a really nice, gutsy play call. But dude, you gotta throw a ball to a receiver down more than 15 yards in a game. You have to try it at least once. So I agree with this comment. It was frustrating to me. Justin, anything on Atuka? Downstream says, really feel for Atuka. Obviously, we got good news on the injury, but what do you think of Atuka long term if he's good to go?
I think that he has some really nice upside as a back who's willing to be physical and work downhill. With a much better offensive line, I think we would be surprised at how good he could actually look. He has a chance to be an above average running back if we can get the line situation figured out. He's got pretty good vision, pretty good patience, and I think that he's a guy who runs through contact really well. He got tripped up a couple of times in this game where he almost got loose. And at that point, if you look at it and you're like, if the blocking gets a little bit better, because this is a D+ offensive line still, if they can become a B-, he's going to be running for over 100 yards a game.
Rajiv, Dennis Reynolds, thoughts on Darian Dupree? Obviously, not running with the best offensive line group, and as Justin pointed out, but it does feel to me different when Atuka's on the field versus
They're not
Dupree.
using him, right?
For sure. And I would say that he is a guy that's still struggling with getting back from injury. So there's that element of it. But there is a marked difference between when Atuka runs the ball and when Dupree runs the ball. Dupree got caught up with like a shoestring tackle late in the game there. I think Atuka breaks that. And there's just opportunities in the way he falls forward, how physical he is at the point of contact, how he's able to use contact and then bounce off it and create more yards. Dupree can't do any of that. And maybe it's injury related, but I just think Atuka's a better running back. I think that's the fact of the matter at this point. And no shade on Dupree. I think he's working hard. He's come back from injury, but he's just not at the level that Atuka is.
I would agree with that. I'm going to give you one more because this ties into your guy. I lost the question in here, but there was a question about how much better we'd be if Zachman was still playing, Rajiv.
Oh, my gosh.
I know that's your guy.
Oh, my gosh. Zachman is so much better than anyone.
Brown was rough in this
there.
game.
The thing about Zachman is he reads the game well, and he's a great tackler. He was the leader of that defense. And how many times have we said, oh, that was a missed tackle by Young or whatever. Young should have made that, or Young. None of that stuff happens. Remember that Zachman had 2 interceptions early in the season, 2 in one game. I know it was a crappy opponent, but dude, Zachman plays this game. You couple Zachman with the defensive front 7 that we've been playing with the last few games, and Posa and Catalano and these guys, this defense gets real scary if Zachman's able to play before the end of the year, especially in that Minnesota game. Big difference. He is incredible. He's so much better than what we have right now.
Justin, I'm going to give you this one to you because, again, coming in, you'd watch a ton of film on Grimes. Brian says, I've said before, I'll say it again, Grimes is not a good coach. What gives or doesn't give you confidence for him maybe going into next year? We talked a little bit about things maybe we didn't like this game or liked, but What would give you confidence Jeff Grimes still being the guy? Oh, you're muted.
I think realistically, if you can give him a better offensive line to work with, like people want to bag on him, have at it. I don't care that much about being the one to hold him, to a high standard. This guy has been on the Broyles list twice. You don't get to be on that list unless you're considered a very productive coordinator in that season. What I will say is he needs a significantly better offensive line in order to him to be a productive offensive coordinator. We can say he wasn't great at Kansas last year. He was significantly better there last year than what we have this year. And he was also really he's only had one season where he's been objectively poor as a coordinator. And that was at Baylor the year they had offensive line problems. So what we're learning is if he doesn't have a decent offensive line, his offense is going to struggle, which we all knew that coming in. This offense is predicated off the running the football and being able to set up play action. And we've had none of that we've been able to work off of this year.
Yeah, I think all that is fair. Again, I'm a little more frustrated, I think, but I definitely get that perspective. Mark says, IU's overrated. They have such an easy schedule. I don't agree. Mark, and again, I appreciate all the comments, but I don't think you can go into Autzen and win on the road against Dan Lanning's team. And like nobody's done that.
That's Minnesota.
Ohio State tried that last year and lost in Autzen. I mean, Indiana's really good. And we saw them today when they get it rolling. Some of those throws, listen, I was a little frustrated with the secondary. Some of those throws Mendoza made. You're not guarding the roster. Yeah, when he lays the ball like that, rolling the ball out, hitting comebacks, I think they're really good, man. Really, really good. Let's see, a couple other ones here. Yeah, but I'll kick this one to you, Rajiv, because this might be more a you or Justin question, because I was a little more frustrated today. Bo does ask, the great Bo Dragon, only Badger fans can be smoked all year and be optimistic.
I mean, like the thing is, at this point, like we're not making a bowl game. We know here's why I'm looking at more of the positives, because we already know that Fickell and his team are going to be back. That's a whole nother discussion to be had about the whole, like how that has played into things. But the bottom line is he's coming back. So all you can do is look forward. And I am an optimistic guy. I'm going to choose to look at that. So I'm going to take a look at that first half and say, if we can build on that, we talked a lot about the offense in this game and how that's going and the play calling. Well, you've got 2 weeks now with more reps for Carter Smith in practice. So put in a better game plan. Let's see what we can do. At the end of the day, we've got a lot of youth playing right now. Certainly guys like Posta and Catalano and these guys and Smith, like Atuka. We have a future. So I am going to choose to be optimistic about that, because this season is lost. We already know he's the coach of next year. So we might as well just build towards that and see what we can have. I'll tell you one thing. I feel a lot better about him returning now than I did 2 weeks ago before the Washington game. That to me is just, I feel much better about it, because I have been impressed, and I have to give credit to Luke Fickell for getting these guys to play as hard as they have. And that counts for something, and it's going to make me feel optimistic.
I don't think that there's an issue with being optimistic. I think it's looking at it from the perspective of, we know what we're dealing with for next year. What are the paths forward where something can go in the positive direction? I don't necessarily know that it's going to happen. I just think that that's where we're at.
And I think Rajiv hit something too. The team is playing really hard. And there were concerns 3 weeks ago that he had lost the locker room. And how can you move forward with a coach that has lost the locker room, that his guys won't play for him? That's never going to work. Well, that's not the case. That whole narrative, which I kind of said I don't really buy, we kind of talked about on the show, is obviously BS. It has to get better in certain ways. We're going to talk about a coaching decision next that we're going to. Alex Koya says, what do you think about the 4th and inches punt down 17? We're going to hit on that one and the end of the half. We'll kind of wrap up the show on those kind of coaching decisions. Let's hit that one. I already lost it. Let's put this one up first, and then we'll get back to the Aux one. Badger Bournemouth, can you explain the end of the first half and why you guys are okay with that? So if you don't remember, let's set the context. Indiana has the ball. They run it on 3rd down. They're running the clock. Now, this is the interesting one. Luke Fickell could have taken a timeout there and got the Badgers the ball back with 1:20 left. Instead, he doesn't. Indiana kicks the field goal, kick it off to Wisconsin. We have the ball with about 50 seconds left, and we essentially run out the clock. I think 2-part question. Should Luke Fickell have taken the timeout and maybe given the Badgers 1.5 minutes potentially to work with? And are you okay with kind of taking the ball into the halftime there?
Do I think he should have taken the timeout? Yes. Do I think that it was a bad decision to not go for it? No, I think that was a fine decision. You're down 10-7. You know it can't get any worse as long as you don't make a mistake. And you've got a true freshman quarterback. And honestly, in order to score in that situation, he would have had to throw the ball downfield. Now, of course, I've been saying I want to throw the ball downfield. But in that situation, I don't want to turn the ball over because I don't want to go into the half down 17-7 or even 13-7. 10-7 goes in. You give yourself a chance to come back and potentially still win this game at that point. I don't mind at all. There are times in this season where I wanted him to go for it, but right then and there, go into the halftime. You're down 10-7 on the road to the number 2 team in the country. You don't want it to get any worse. And you put the ball in Carter Smith's hands and you try to make something happen at the end of the first half. You absolutely could turn the ball over there. And now you're going down 17-7. It's not worth it. You had a higher chance of turning it over and letting them score than you scoring.
Yeah. For me, the timeout was a non-starter. I viewed it as you don't take that timeout unless you actually think you're going to run a 2-minute drill. And my perspective from the get-go was I'm not trusting a true freshman quarterback who, as we saw in this game, is still a work in progress with reading coverages. And I don't think you're going to get aggressive with a kid like that. And if you're not going to throw the football, it's not like you're going to suddenly run the football down the field in 50 seconds and pick up 70 yards or even 40 yards to get in field goal range. So to me, it was just run it out, take the win and be only down 3 going into the half. Hope maybe you get a turnover to start the second half and set yourself up for a good opportunity.
Yeah, it's going to be a clean sweep here. I was fine with it. Guys, for everyone wanting to be aggressive, and trust me, I get that. We have watched this team the entire year. What gives you any confidence that they're going to run 60 yards down the field in 50 seconds? They haven't been able to do it all year against anybody. And this is a really good team. You're much more likely to throw a pick there and set Indiana up on the doorstep for what would be an incredibly deflating Indiana score than you are to hit anything deep. They didn't throw the ball deep all game long. They are not getting into field goal position, which you're probably going to miss because we can't kick field goals. I thought that was smart. I thought that was the right call. There's been many times I've been frustrated with Fickell or maybe you need to be a little more aggressive. I didn't think this was the moment. I think we're all in total agreement here.
Yeah. Now the 4th and 1 though, where are we talking about that one next? That one I was very, very upset about. First of all, it was 3rd and 1 and like you didn't give it to the fullback. You should have done a fullback dive or a QB sneak. You've got Carter Smith. Like he's an athletic guy. Like he can make a play. I don't believe that at all. And then it was actually 3rd and like an inch. It wasn't even 3rd and 1. And then the same on 4th and 1. You absolutely should go for that. And you have to throwing a QB sneak there. When it's 3rd and 6 inches, I'm sorry, you need to get that first down. And you're down 17. At least fight there. That particular decision, I was extremely upset about. Yeah,
I agree with you there. I didn't like that play call initially. Like I think you give it to Carter, you just run the ball forward. He's physical. That's what he's there for. That's why you have a mobile quarterback.
That's literally his best trait right now. Give him the damn ball and let him run. There's no reason we should not have gotten it on 3rd and 6 inches or whatever it was.
All right, let's throw one more question up here and then we'll finish final thoughts. Justin, I think you wanted to talk about Bakos, right?
Yeah, he is a total liability. I think that's fair. I think what we will remember him for in his time after relievers, how many times he had an opportunity to either tie a game or give us the lead and butchered a kick. And sure enough, today gets us an opportunity. We get a great drive from the offense, from a young quarterback to give him the offense a little more confidence that they can put points on the board. And he goes down and craps on a 45-yard field goal. Like, talk about taking the wind out of the sails of your offense when you get it. No offense, in college, that should be somewhat of a gimme. It's 45 yards. That should be you're roughly right around your sweet spot. And that was just another opportunity and it was a good hold. It wasn't like he had a bad hold and miss. He just missed the kick. I think he's been given more opportunities than I would like to see, given the fact of his lack of consistency.
This team's not good enough, man, to not be able to do those type of things well. It's just, I'll tell you this. There was a moment in this game where you guys remember the Lance Mason tight end sweep on 3rd or 2nd and 6 or whatever. He got 7 yards and it's like a really kind of intricate play design. And it's like, we have to do all of this to get 7 yards. And meanwhile, Indiana's just going to throw a 9 route and get 60. It's too difficult for us, right? So to Justin's point, you can't miss field goals when you get them because it's too hard for us to orchestrate moments to get in those spots. It's a little bit like if you ever watch Marvels, Iron Man does all that stuff just to like get a little bit of blood from Thanos. And Thanos is like, you worked that hard to get 6 yards. It felt like we're working so hard to get 6 yards. And meanwhile, Indiana's just dicing us up. Let's go last thoughts, big picture, anything that we missed or anything else that you want to talk about. Justin, we'll start with you. We'll roll through.
Yeah, bigger thoughts here. You came out of this one. Carter gets some confidence under his belt, and now you have another week where he can continue to kind of branch out into the playbook a little bit. You hopefully get him in a better spot with comfort and hopefully find some things that will allow him to be more successful this next week. Illinois' defense is far less impressive than Indiana's. You may be able to run the football. I do think you need to hope that Atuka is okay and that this is just precautionary stuff. You probably need him in order for us to really feel like we're in a good spot in this game, because I don't know that Dupree gives enough physicality for us to feel good about the run game in that game.
So the two things I would say, just to touch on the kicker thing really quickly, it's kind of weird to me how we can't get a better kicker in the portal. We need to get a better kicker. Like, there are 18 teams in the Big Ten. There's 18 teams or something like that in the SEC. Everybody wants to be one of these two conferences. There are FCS kickers that can kick the ball better than this. We need to get a kicker that can actually be functional in this offense. Secondly, as far as final thoughts, like, the next 2 weeks are super important, and you have nothing to lose at this point. You have nothing to lose, which means you need to open it up a little bit for Carter. That might mean he turns the ball over a little bit more. Okay. Like, I'd rather see him launch the ball deep to Vinny Anthony you set up the play action, you use the play action to hit him deep. Jaden Ballard, you got to do something different to open up this offense against these next 2 weeks. The two teams we're playing are not good defenses, as Justin pointed out. Minnesota's defense is really not good. And we have to be able to score points against these two teams. We have our home game. It's senior day. Let's see what we can do in the same. Just whatever happens, I just want us to open it up. You have nothing to lose. There's no reason to hold back at this point. Now you've got a couple weeks of practice with Carter Smith. Let him run some offense.
Yeah, dude, I should have gone before you, because I feel like you saw my show notes for what I was going to end with. I think that's it. I don't think it's going to be acceptable for in another week or another 2 weeks to still be saying, well, he's just a freshman. It's okay. We threw the ball for 30 yards.
Agree with that.
It's not, you have to find little ways that he can get better, and it's not going to be perfect. Nobody should expect perfect, but you have to find ways to engineer opportunities for this offense and for Carter Smith that aren't quarterback draw. I'm sorry, you have, or if that's the case, then you put in Hunter Simmons back in, but I don't think that's the case. I think there's ways you can win with Hunter Smith moving the ball a little bit more. So since Rajiv stole most of my thunder there, and he did it in a more eloquent way than I did.
You need to trust him
anyway. Yeah, you got to trust him a little bit. So I think that's the big one. But I would say the other one then, just to finish off, again, just continued hats off to this front seven. Christian Allegro going out there with clearly still a broken hand. He looks like he could go club up. I don't know. I was going to say something.
I have a question for you too on that one.
Yeah, I just really quick, hats off to that front seven, man. Like, Christian Allegro out there playing with a broken hand, Posa, Catalano, those dudes, the Brandon Lane, Barton had another really nice day with some penetration. Mason Reiger was everywhere. Got tackled on a play where Mendoza completed a deep pass that should have been another holding call. Those guys play so hard, man. Complete hats off.
Do you guys feel like Allegro getting back out there has a little to do with the fact that he's concerned about how these two freshmen are playing?
I don't think so, because he was getting out there before they took off with his broken hand. He had come out right after he broke it. They still put him back out there in that game to try to come out and play. I just think he's wired like a linebacker should.
Yeah, we've got three really, really good inside linebackers, and maybe Tommy Heiberger is going to play more, and he's also looking pretty good. So I just think it's nice to have the depth there, and if we bring all four of those guys back next year, that's a hell of a room. All
right, we're going to wrap it up there, you guys. Again, everybody say thank you to Mike behind the mic, again, organizing all the comments, and a really good dude. He's back there making sure we get all these comments up, which, again, I think allows us to focus on the conversations more, which I think makes this show better for y'all. So on Wisconsin, as always, Justin, Rajiv, go check them out on the Buck Report. More content coming up on this channel, as always, and we will definitely talk tomorrow.